Okay, we're going to talk about the switch statement, which is pretty powerful in the sense of using it with menus. Makes your if-else statements a little bit easier. Now this is really good when you know your possible values, and by values I mean, and we're not going to be checking a range of values. So when a user inputs something, we're not going to say, is it between 0 and 100, something like that. We're looking for specific values. So I'm just going to give you this case example, and I think you'll get it from there. So the key words for a switch case and kind of the template is you're going to start out with switch, and then you're going to have your expression or your variable here, expression or variable. This holds the value that you're going to be checking. So let's say they have a menu that's 0 through 9. You're going to say user input goes in there, and if the user input is 1, you do this. If it's 2, you do that. If it's 3, you do that. So you don't need a giant else if type structure. So continuing on with the template for this is kind of what it looks like. So right now I'm going to print out what is a letter grade A equivalent to numerically. So I'll print out the range, not actually use the range. So I would put the variable in here. And this is something that you can set from the keyboard, but right now I'm hard coding it to A. So for the first case, you would write out case, and then you would actually write out the value that you're going to say it is. So if grade is A, essentially, you put a colon there, hit enter, and then you do whatever you want. So to get an A, you need something between a 90 and 100. So I'll do that. And then you need what's called, when you're creating this, you should have a default case as well. So I'm going to just continue actually with this. If it's a B, I'm going to do this, then print that out, 80 to 90, and I'm going to stop there for now. And I'd like to create a default case where if it's not any of those, which I could do A, B, C, D, right, and then there's F or anything else, then I'm going to say printf. I'm going to put, or actually I'll keep the F case in there as well. I'm going to put in, if they put in like an A or anything outside of A, B, C, D, or F, like say they put an E in, I'll put invalid input by default. Okay, so I'm going to run this code. Grade is currently set to A right now, right? So it should print out only this, but there's going to be a caveat. So I'm just going to run it. So it printed out 90 to 100, 80 to 90, and an invalid input. So here's the problem. You actually need a break statement inside of each of the cases. So if you don't want a case to run after like any subsequent cases beneath it, then you need to put a break statement. So what happened was it got into here, printed this out, and then since there wasn't a break statement, it just went ahead and continued all the other cases. So let me give you an example. I'm going to actually take out the break in here and switch this to B. So what's going to happen is it's going to find the cases B, and it should print out both of these because there's no break statement inside the case. Now you don't need a break statement in the default, but you do anything above it. So let's give that a try. So here we go. Grade was the B. It skipped A because it went straight to this case, printed out 80 to 90, and then printed out invalid input. Now I'm going to put this break statement in here. There it is. It broke out of this switch. So don't forget the break. So when I do use switches, I normally use it for menus. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to do user input. I'm going to store user input that way, so I'm going to prompt the user. And we're going to create a menu. Printf enter in a choice 0 through, let's just do 3 choices here. And we'll store that in here. Don't forget your ampersand. Now I could do a valid check and all that stuff, right? Make sure they entered in something between 0 and 2. I'm going to leave that up to you to keep the video short, and I've done it plenty of times in other videos. So here we go. So the switch would happen here. User input is what we're checking the case. So here are the cases. There's the 0 case, the 1 case, and the 2 case, and default is where they don't enter in anything nicely. So I guess that could be your invalid check there. So here we go. We'll just say printf you chose 0. So here's like where you could do addition, multiplication, whatever, like in the previous exam or previous in-class stuff, where you had to choose, you know, if they wanted to add, subtract, or multiply. All right, and you chose 1, and you chose 2, and for the default case, you chose out of bounds. Okay, so let's say if they choose 0, they only want to do 0, but if they choose 1, they want to do 1 and 2, but not the default. So how does that work? Well, let's say if they choose 0, they only do 0, but if they choose 1, they want to do 1 and 2. So I can put you chose 1 or 2 here. And then I can put a break after here because we don't want to run the default if they actually chose a 1 or a 2. So let's just run it and see how it goes. So if I put in a 0, it should just tell me 0, which it did. Let me hit Control F5 again. So if I choose a 1, it should say you chose 1, and then you chose 1 or 2. There you go. So this could be something like compute the sum and the average, something like that. And then finally, if we just choose 2, you chose 1 or 2. And there you go. I guess let's do something out of bounds here. -1, you chose out of bounds. And let's do a bigger number. You chose out of bounds. Put the period after the new line, whoops. So that's basically a switch statement, and it's really good for menus. That's what I mostly use it for.